I gave a Disney adult a new liver just to have him committed to an asylum. The air here is thick with burnt sugar and manufactured joy, a sickly sweet coating on everything. They say this is the happiest place on earth, but I see the sickness. It festers in the adults with the mouse ear headbands and the $1,000 pins on their lanyards. The ones whose eyes are a little too wide, a little too desperate for magic. I call them the hollows. My work is to make them whole. It's a thankless job, a necessary one. I'm a sort of physician for the soul. The dispatch came on my private comms, a sterile text against the chaotic symphony of the park. Male, mid-30s. Last seen near the castle, buying a churro with a childlike glee that didn't belong on his face. The diagnostic was specific, a void where his liver should be, a gaping absence where a pancreas ought to sit. He lacked the organs for bitterness, for processing the hard, indigestible truths of life. He was floating, unburdened by reality. He had to be anchored. I found him by the teacups. His name was Corin. He was laughing, a high, thin sound that grated against the mechanical whimsy of the ride. I watched him for a full rotation, my satchel heavy at my side. He didn't see me. The hollows never do. They're too busy looking for a fantasy that isn't there. I followed him as he drifted towards the back alleys of Fantasyland, the pristine facade giving way to stained concrete and humming electrical boxes. The perfect operating theater. He was humming the tune from the Small World ride when I closed the distance. He turned, startled, the goofy smile still plastered on his face. It faltered when he saw what I held in my hands. The procedure is quick if you know what you're doing. There's no anesthetic. The shock is part of the treatment. He fought, of course. They always do. He tried to scramble away, babbling about his dinner reservation, about a parade. I pinned him against a dumpster overflowing with discarded dreams and popcorn boxes. I pushed the dense, heavy weight of the liver into his side, a visceral intrusion of reality. He screamed, a raw, terrified sound that was swallowed by the park's noise. Then came the pancreas, a knot of obligation and consequence. I felt them settle inside him, filling the empty spaces. A shudder racked his frame, a deep, guttural sob that had nothing to do with pain and everything to do with a sudden, crushing weight. His shoulders slumped. His spine curved, as if gravity had just tripled its hold on him. The light in his eyes flickered and died, replaced by the dull sheen of a 9-to-5 existence. He was whole. He was an adult. He looked at his hands, then at the peeling paint on the wall. "But it's more fun here," he whispered, his voice cracking. "As an adult, you can appreciate it more. No bedtime. You can." His pathetic justification soured the air. I leaned in close, my voice a calm, clinical counterpoint to the distant sound of a brass band. "Are you on drugs, Corin?" He froze. The gears in his newly burdened mind churned, grinding through the terrible calculus of my question. He saw the trap instantly. If he said yes, the authorities would take him. He'd enter the system through a cell, a criminal branded and processed, eventually spat back out into the world he'd been trying to escape. A confirmed adult. If he said no, because if you're not on drugs, I continued, letting the words hang in the air between us, then this obsession, this behavior, it's not rational. It's not the mark of a sound mind. His eyes darted back and forth, looking for an escape that wasn't there. The joy he'd clung to had become the evidence for his own damnation. He swallowed hard, the movement visible in his throat. "I'm not on drugs," he finally choked out. I nodded slowly. "Then you're just crazy." The orderlies who came for him were discreet. They didn't wear uniforms. To the laughing families that passed the alleyway, it just looked like a man being helped to his feet by two friends. Corin didn't struggle. He just stared at the ground, the weight of his new organs pulling him down into the earth. I watched them lead him away, a quiet satisfaction settling over me. Another void filled, another soul anchored. The park felt a little more real. Weeks passed. I continued my work, purging the rot, one hollow at a time. Then, one afternoon, while making my rounds through the central plaza, I saw him. one of the costume characters, Mickey. But something was wrong. The walk was off. It wasn't the jaunty cartoon bounce, it was a slow, medicated shuffle. The head tilted at an unnatural angle, the fixed, plastic smile seeming less like a grin and more like a rictus. The other characters gave it a wide berth. The children seemed to sense it too, running to their parents instead of towards the character. I moved closer, an icy dread coiling in my gut. The character stopped and turned its massive head to face me. Through the black mesh of the eyes, I could see him. It was Corin, and he was smiling. It wasn't the vacant, desperate smile of the hollow he used to be. It was the serene, empty smile of the institutionalized. The smile of someone so saturated with medication that the real world and the fantasy had finally, permanently merged. He had found a loophole. He was still here. They hadn't cured him. They had just given him a better costume. The fixed, black eyes stared into mine, and I knew. I hadn't removed the sickness. I had just given it a mask.